China-Japan relations collapse, 60% of investments and companies flee China amid economic decoupling. In the evolving landscape of global economics, the relationship between China and Japan has reached a critical juncture. Once characterized by robust trade and investment ties, the bilateral dynamic is now marked by a significant retreat of Japanese businesses from the Chinese market. This shift is driven by a combination of geopolitical tensions, economic uncertainties, and strategic realignments. Recent data indicates that around 60% of Japanese investments and companies have either scaled back or completely withdrawn from China, exacerbating an unemployment crisis that is rippling through various industries. This economic decoupling is not just a bilateral issue but a reflection of broader global trends where supply chains are being reconfigured away from perceived risks. The exodus of Japanese firms from China has accelerated in recent years, with high-profile closures underscoring the trend. For instance, Yakult, the Japanese beverage giant known for its probiotic drinks, announced the closure of its first factory in Guangzhou on November 30, 2025, as part of a broader corporate restructuring. This follows the shutdown of its Shanghai facility in December 2024, with production being relocated to other sites like Tianjin and Wuxi. Yakult entered the Chinese market in 2002, starting with modest production of 60,000 bottles per day in Guangzhou. By 2021, sales had surged to nearly 7 million bottles daily, but recent figures show a sharp decline to about 4.46 million in 2025. Company officials cite the need to consolidate operations, enhance efficiency, and adapt to changing market conditions. However, this move is emblematic of a larger pattern where Japanese companies are reassessing their exposure to China amid rising costs, regulatory hurdles, and geopolitical frictions. Similarly, other Japanese enterprises are following suit. In August 2024, Tokyo-based Fujikura announced the closure of its Shanghai subsidiary, offering compensation to workers that exceeded local legal standards around $90,200 per employee in some cases. Fujikura, which entered China in 2001 with an initial investment of $10.5 million, specialized in wiring systems and connectors for the automotive and telecommunications sectors. After over 2 decades, its departure highlights the challenges of sustaining long-term operations in an increasingly unpredictable environment. Online reactions in China praised the company's dignified exit, with comments like, "Foreign firms may leave, but they leave with dignity," reflecting a mix of resentment and admiration. This trend extends beyond individual companies to major corporations across sectors. Firms such as Mitsubishi, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Konica Minolta, Nippon Steel, Bridgestone, Panasonic, Sony, and Toshiba have all reduced their footprints in China. According to data from Nikkei, Japan's direct investment in China dropped by 15% in 2023 and continued to decline through 2024 and into 2025. The Japanese Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Japan report that net investment now stands at approximately 510 billion yen, $3.34 billion, a staggering 60% reduction from the 2017 peak of 1.3 trillion yen. A survey by the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry in China revealed that 64% of Japanese companies perceive China's economy as worsening, with 44% planning to reduce or halt investments altogether. Over 40% expressed concerns about safety and the overall business environment. The human impact of this decoupling is profound. The Japanese expatriate population in China has dwindled to 97,538, the lowest in 2 decades. In Beijing, numbers have fallen by 60% since 2012, and in Dalian by about 50%. Experts attribute this to China's unstable market conditions, escalating geopolitical tensions, and risks associated with operating in a highly regulated environment. Meanwhile, Japanese investments are surging elsewhere, particularly in the United States. In 2024, Japan invested 33.9 trillion yen in the U.S., representing nearly 40% of its total global investments, with net inflows reaching 11.9 trillion yen, the highest among all countries. This pivot underscores the U.S.'s economic resilience and its efforts to diversify high-tech supply chains away from China. From a Chinese perspective, this withdrawal is viewed with a mix of concern and defensiveness. Official media outlets emphasize that foreign companies leaving China do not signal a fundamental weakness but rather a natural evolution of global business strategies. They argue that claims of large-scale foreign investor exodus are exaggerated, pointing to ongoing investments in high-tech and green sectors. However, independent analyses suggest that the departure of Japanese firms is contributing to an unemployment storm sweeping across industries like manufacturing, automotive, and consumer goods. With factories closing and production shifting, millions of jobs are at risk, amplifying economic pressures in a post-pandemic recovery phase. Politically, Japan's domestic shifts are influencing this decoupling. On October 21, 2025, Sanae Takaichi made history as Japan's first female prime minister, succeeding Shigeru Ishiba. Known for her conservative and hawkish views, Takaichi has pledged to strengthen the Japan-US alliance, including a summit with U.S. President Donald Trump on October 28, 2025. The leaders finalized an expanded trade deal, building on previous agreements, which includes U.S. soybeans, liquefied natural gas, and Ford F-150 trucks in exchange for lower tariffs on Japanese cars. Takaichi's foreign policy maintains a firm stance toward Beijing, deepening ties with the U.S., Taiwan, India, and Australia under the Indo-Pacific strategy. Chinese state media have dubbed her the female Abe, criticizing her visits to the Yasukuni Shrine and support for revising Japan's pacifist constitution. A Kyodo News poll indicates that 53.6% of Japanese citizens believe relations with China will worsen under her leadership. Takaichi's cabinet, with an average age of 59, reflects this conservative direction. Key figures include Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara, Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi, Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi, and others. Economic Security Minister Kimiko Onoda has raised alarms about Chinese-made robotic vacuum cleaners in Japan's parliament posing data security risks, vowing tighter controls on foreign technology, immigration, and investment. Analysts predict that her administration will accelerate corporate withdrawals from China, redirecting them to the U.S. and Southeast Asia. Taiwanese economist Wu Jiarong notes that Japan's decoupling from China is nearly complete, with most factories shut down or relocated, paving the way for a new Asian economic order centered on Tokyo, Washington, and Taipei. Chinese-style counterfeiting permeates every facet of daily life: clothing, food, housing, and transportation. China's ingenuity in counterfeiting has become a global notoriety, infiltrating clothing, food, housing, and transportation with alarming precision. Once limited to currency, fakes now encompass everything imaginable, driven by a market where moral boundaries are often blurred for profit. Recent investigations reveal sophisticated deceptions that endanger lives and erode trust. In construction, fake welding uses glue and metallic paint to mimic steel joints, while fire extinguishers contain toxic powders instead of proper agents. Homeowners have discovered solid wood doors hollow and paper-filled, with sellers quibbling that paper derives from wood. Building materials like foam walls disguised as brick or brittle tofu bricks treated with chemicals shatter easily, posing safety risks. Food counterfeiting is particularly insidious. Traditional herbs like safflower are faked with dyed wood fibers or toilet paper, deer antler velvet with glued sand and hide, seahorses weighted with plastic. Markets sell fish stuffed with smaller fish for added weight, squid filled with babies, or synthetic pork that crumbles. Pre-cooked items like ribs are molded from chicken and oil, pork belly from soy protein and fat. Even beef marrow is reprocessed tallow or stuffed chicken bones grilled with seasonings. Seafood bags are weighted, with vendors claiming necessity without deducting costs. The scale is vast, from diluted medicinal powders with dust to fake bricks and toxic soil. Restaurants serve glued synthetic pig ears or chemical-enhanced sunflower seeds. Jadeite jewelry is acid-bleached and resin-injected, turning cheap pieces into ice jade worth thousands, potentially harmful with wear. Chinese authorities have ramped up crackdowns, with surges in IP crime prosecutions in 2024 to 2025, focusing on food, medicine, and electronics. Yet, the industry's infiltration reflects systemic issues, from small tricks like weighted bags to major frauds with toxins, blurring the line between real and fake. Chinese influencers' high-speed train luxury life exposed, the absurd script behind Shanghai's fake socialites. In China's digital ecosystem, the pursuit of fame and fortune has spawned a bizarre phenomenon, influencers staging opulent lifestyles on high-speed trains and beyond. This trend, often dubbed the elegant life, involves young women and increasingly men curating illusions of luxury to captivate millions on platforms like Douyin, TikTok's Chinese counterpart, and Xiaohongshu. What appears as refined sophistication is frequently a facade built on group buys, rentals, and clever editing, reflecting deeper societal pressures for overnight riches. The trend gained traction in recent years, with videos depicting influencers in business-class train seats, meticulously arranging flowers, humidifiers, and mini tea sets while sanitizing surfaces and laying disposable covers. Some escalate to portable cookers for instant noodles or mini fridges stocked with sushi and sparkling drinks, transforming the carriage into a mobile spa or office. Career rituals follow, with laptops and laser keyboards simulating high-stakes deals, culminating in projector setups for movies or foot soaks in foldable tubs. These scripted performances have gone viral, amassing millions of views, but they've also invited skepticism and parody. One infamous case is the Shanghai socialite scandal, which exploded in 2020 and resurfaced in discussions in 2025. A user paid about $70 to join an exclusive elite chat group on WeChat, only to discover it was a network of women pooling resources to fake lavish lifestyles. Luxury items like Hermès bags and Dior jewelry were group purchased, with costs split among participants. A seemingly extravagant tea party costing hundreds was actually shared by a dozen, each paying under $15. Hotel suites were divided among 15 people for photo ops in bathrobes. When exposed, the story topped trending searches, yet many influencers doubled down, using the notoriety to sell cheap replicas in live streams. This Pinduoduo socialite culture named after the group buying app has expanded to male parodies, like the elegant Didi driver or elegant mahjong player. In one viral clip, a man transforms a public restroom into a spa with disinfectant, candles, and a red carpet. Beneath the humor lies a commercial underbelly. These videos are sales pitches, manipulating fantasies to peddle products. Influencers turn trains into showrooms, feeding consumer desires with the promise that affordable items can unlock elite living. Society's obsession with overnight riches fuels this. In a competitive economy, live streaming has democratized fame, with street performers and vendors vying for tips. However, the absurdity highlights inequality and deception, as one blogger urged, "Wake up, people. Stop being cash machines for these delusional streamers." China's underground animal blood bank industry exposed, adorable kittens become victims. A pet blogger in Guangzhou, Guangdong Province, recently exposed a horrifying underground industry, illegal operators draining blood from stray cats for resale. Bought cheaply, cats yield 3 to 4 bags of blood sold to clinics for 800 yuan, $110 each. Footage shows a cat with a needle in its leg, hind legs lifted to force flow, a heartbreaking scene. Cats need transfusions for anemia, poisoning, or liver issues, but China lacks regulated pet blood banks. Sources include household donations or unregulated commercial banks, raising concerns about origins and humane standards. Netizens decried it as organ trafficking for animals, demanding investigations. The video was removed by authorities for damaging the city's image, but calls for accountability persist. Li Keqiang's death anniversary, Beijing on high alert, bloody clashes at night market, Wall Street predicts countdown to China's 2030 collapse. October 27, 2025, marked the second anniversary of former Chinese Premier Li Keqiang's death, prompting heightened security in several regions. Universities in Anhui province implemented strict lockdowns, requiring daily attendance reports and handwritten leave requests, with unannounced dormitory inspections. Leaked student chats revealed fears of organized memorials, echoing past censorship. In Hefei and Dinjiwanli's hometown commemorations occurred, with calls for investigations into leadership responsibilities. Online, mockery of government paranoia proliferated, noting an expanding list of sensitive dates. Li, who served as premier from 2013 to 2023, was remembered for his 2020 remark that 600 million Chinese earn only about 1,000 yuan, $140 monthly, contradicting official prosperity narratives. His sudden death in 2023 sparked suspicions, leading to arrests like that of journalist Gao Yu for demanding an investigation. That evening, violence erupted at Yingang Night Market in Shangqiu, Hunan Province, between vendors and urban management officers. A stall shut down amid a 100-day pollution control ban triggered clashes, injuring many. Vendors, desperate after months without income, cried, "We just want to survive." Analysts decry policies prioritizing metrics over livelihoods. Amid economic strain, trends like renting the 3 golds, 4 weddings gold ring, bracelet, necklace emerge, with prices up 50% in 2025. Couples rent 50 grams for 1,000 yuan weekly instead of buying for 60,000 yuan. E-commerce shows 200% order growth, mostly from post-1990s generations balancing tradition and realism. A Wall Street report predicts China's systemic crisis by 2028, potential collapse before 2030, citing real estate losses of $5 to $10 trillion eroding banking equity. The regime's legitimacy, tied to growth, falters with shrinking exports and rising debt. Signs of fracture abound, questioning China's cohesion. This exposure highlights broader animal welfare gaps, fueling outrage and advocacy for oversight.